You have air fresheners now. So it's a record player. So. All right. All right, cats, here we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome on in to SNSN. Today's a pretty big day as far as high school sports is concerned, and especially for a couple of young men that we have here in the studio. We have a different co-host today. It's Wayne Malin. How are you?
How you doing, Mike? Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, since the first selectman thing didn't work out,
I need another job.
Hey, we'll go ahead and let's say his new career as radio co-host or whatever. We have Steve Rubino, who is over here. He's the athletic director at Griswold.
Morning.
Morning, Steve. And then we're actually going to focus on these two gentlemen right here. The one gentleman to your left is Soren Rief, who's a senior at Killingly High School. Will be playing tonight in his first round state tournament game. And then Kinkade Rubino, or should we call you Kinkade? Yeah. And we were Mr. GHS, right?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people. I want to start with you, Kinkade. You've had a heck of a season, as far as your football career this year, and even as far as people on game day calling you Mr. Everything. So, and some of your acrobats, jumping over people, doing a double flip and a half twist. I don't know. You were just crazy. But how do you feel this year went for you? Did you expect everything to happen the way it did? Or did stuff happen that didn't happen?
I expected it to go right around 9-1, 10-0. I mean, we lost Wyndham, which was definitely a tough loss. I wish we got that one back. But, I mean, from the end of junior season, we had a lot of returning players for this upcoming year, and I mean, wouldn't have been able to do it without our line. So I don't know. I definitely saw this one coming.
So that's one of the things that I've heard a lot is that your line doesn't get enough credit. So did you want to shout out anybody on the line that maybe maybe some of your fellow seniors that really, because if it wasn't for them, you may not have had the year.
Yep. That
you had. So if you want to go ahead and shout out a few people, go for it.
All right. Shout out Aiden Rourke, Tyler Scarron, Sam Martin, Jacob Hamill, Auden Caluera, and DeAndre Bransford, Aiden Pelletier. Shout out to all those guys.
All right. Very good. All right. Soren, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
I will say that you sitting next to Kinkade, you look 7 times bigger than him. It's like, how you doing? You just sit there. So I think we've met maybe once or twice, face to face and stuff like that. And I always tease you, once in posts and stuff like that on Facebook, calling you, you're in beast mode and stuff like that. Yeah. You got your start really Griswold Youth Football, not? Okay. Who were some of your coaches in Griswold Youth Football?
Bo Gear and my dad. Those are both my coaches.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, cool. I just think it was really, really cool that we have the Division I Player of the Year and the Division II Player of the Year, and you're both Griswold kids.
Yeah.
You both started in Griswold Youth Football. You too, Kinkade?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys have been playing since how long? Since you're like 6, maybe?
We've been playing together pretty much our whole life.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what I figured. So, how do you guys? I mean, do you guys talk a lot in between? Like let's say we're gonna get you. No, we're gonna get you. Or... Now it's like you guys aren't playing each other, so you guys are probably rooting for each other now.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So, Soren, one of the things that tell us about your history at Killingly. You served a little bit under kind of like Jack Sharp for a little bit.
Yep.
Did you learn a lot from Jack Sharp? I mean, was he kind of a little bit of a mentor for you? Kind of gave you, kind of paved the way for you a little bit?
Yeah, he was, and he was very good. I was under him for 2 years, and I mean, obviously freshman year we didn't have a season, but my whole sophomore year I played fullback and he played tailback. So yeah, I learned a lot from him.
Gotcha. What's your favorite thing about playing at Killingly?
I'd say just the community. Every Friday night, they all come out and watch the game, and we have a lot of people come out.
It's a great atmosphere. Yeah, it really is. So tonight, is your first game.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different, isn't it, this year?
Yeah.
So like you guys have a 7 seed, correct?
Yep.
And let's see here. Don't tell me you're playing New Canaan. Oh boy. And you're traveling to New Canaan.
Yes.
That's about a 2-hour ride.
Yeah.
God. So what do you think about New Canaan? What do you guys know about New Canaan?
Obviously they're a very good football team, and they got studs all around the field, but so do we. So
yeah,
we're feeling good about it. We know. I mean, the past 2 years that we've played football, I know me personally, we've been home each playoff game. We've never been on the road, so it's definitely something different. And to go all the way down there, we're feeling good about it.
So Killingly started the year, much like Griswold, but you guys are just getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
Griswold in the first 2 games, you won one, you lost one. You guys lost your first 2.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen in Killingly.
No.
At least not in the last few years. So you lost to Massac 43-20, and then to Notre Dame West Haven 34-14. What were you guys? I mean, how were you guys feeling after those first 2 games, knowing the seasons that you've had in the previous 2?
There was a lot of pressure on us, and we know that, like you said, that's almost never happens up in Killingly. But we had 2 very tough opponents to start, and we had after we lost to Notre Dame, we came in Saturday morning, and Coach Hill had a long talk with us, and we, it was just like motivational. It was good, and I think it benefits us down the road, like games like tonight.
Then week 3, you guys put a stomping on Wyndham.
Yep.
40. Like you guys just Wayne. It just seemed like they got mad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So 40-12.
Yep.
Do you guys tease each other? By saying we beat Wyndham, you didn't.
No.
I think if you guys got that game back, Kinkade, I think you guys would beat him, definitely.
I think as well.
Absolutely. What do you expect out of yourself tonight? I mean, are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself, or are you just going with the flow?
I'm just going with the flow. I'm just gonna go out there and just play football.
Any prediction?
No prediction.
Did you ever see? Was it Rocky 3? Did you ever see that one, Steve?
Yeah, I've seen.
You seen it?
Yeah.
And they said, "You have any prediction?" Or was it Rocky 2? The one with no, Rocky 3. The one with
Clever.
huh?
Clever Lang.
Yeah, Clever Lang.
Yeah, Clever Lang.
Remember-
Mr. T.
Remember when they said any prediction for tonight, and he just kind of scowled and he goes, "Pain." That was so. Anyway, so good luck tonight, Soren. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Now, one more thing with you. Didn't you just kind of beat out Kinkade as far as the rushing yards for the year, or the total yards?
I mean, I guess. I don't really.
Come on, you can flex a little.
Numbers.
Come on, let's go.
I don't get too caught up in the stats.
No,
But I mean, he's a great player, and I've been watching him. He's been doing a great job.
you're a pretty humble kid, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Kinkade, let's go to you now. So now tonight, or at 6:30, you have the Cromwell Panthers. We know a little bit about Cromwell because we played them in basketball last year down at the X in Waterford in a state game. So now we got them in football. What do you think? Well, what's your thought going in? What kind of things are the coaches telling you?
They got a lot of big kids. We just gotta play a good game. We gotta go out there. We gotta bring a lot of energy. We can't come out flat like we did against Plainfield. Obviously, it was 6-0.
What happened there?
We came out flat. We thought we were gonna go and kill them, and they brought it to us. And halftime came around, and we kind of picked up some energy, and then we got it going.
Well, when we were doing the game, one of the things that Scott Fryer and I were talking about is that we weren't too worried because we figured, okay, it's a little tight right now, but we think you're going to tire them out. And I think that's kind of what happened, especially in the second half. They just couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And they're in a very transitional year as far as football is concerned. So, then you guys just kind of took off, kind of like you beat them, 34-0 the previous year?
Yeah.
And then 36-0 this year.
Right.
So 70-0 over 2 years. That's like a Killingly score. So the game is the game is 6:30 tonight. We'll be there streaming it, so you can tell your relatives that can't make the game that they'll be able to watch it on YouTube tonight. Do you guys get a lot of pressure? Do you guys feel like when people are streaming it or televising your games at all, or do you guys don't even think about it?
I don't think about it.
Yeah. What's your favorite moment so far from this year, Kinkade? Because I'm sure there's a lot.
Probably the hurdle.
Which one? The one in Stonington?
The one against Legend.
Oh, was that the one that I actually dropped a reel on?
Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
That was something. That was something else. What about you, Soren? What was, if you could pick out one or maybe even two, situations from this year that you're going to take with you?
I think the East Lyme game. I mean, we played overall really well as a team, and that was a huge win for us.
Yeah, you guys beat East Lyme 64-35. So what do you now you're gonna leave a legacy for next year.
Mhm.
How do you think Killingly's gonna do? Who are the players to watch next year?
I think they're going to do fine. Right now we have a lot of sophomores starting, so we're a young team, but those great players. Our quarterback Quinn Sumner, we got Hayden Allard, he plays running back. Peyton Wallace, Hunter Allard, Aiden Lamont, and then just the list goes on. You got a bunch of guys that are very good football players.
Yeah, I can see. I'm looking at the roster now. We have quite a few sophomores.
Yeah.
Now, who's the sophomore running back? That I guess he's actually maybe a little quicker, but he's smaller than you.
Yes, that's Hayden Allard.
Okay. And so, does he know he's got big shoes to fill?
Yeah, he does.
Does he?
But he's a humble kid. He's quiet, and I know he'll do a good job.
Good. Now, Kinkade, what about you? What are you as far as what kind of a legacy do you think you're going to leave? And who are you mentoring anybody right now that you think that is going to go ahead and fill? You got some pretty big shoes to fill there. Serious.
No, Aiden Cutter definitely would be
Cutter, huh?
the one that I'm mentoring, and he's going to fill my shoes. And honestly, I think he'll be better than me when he gets to a senior.
Wow. Well, it's funny because we saw a whole bunch of freshmen come in this year, Wayne.
Yeah.
That we're because we watch the Griswold Youth Football. It's like a feeder program. Look at Soren Rief. Look at what he's accomplished at Killingly High School and Kinkade, and you can go into Cole Gear, who's playing in another state and another atmosphere, actually.
I want to get their perspective, especially Kinkade, and I know they did the same thing up in Killingly. How did you feel about the field? How did the field work for you guys this year?
I'm just happy that we got it in for our senior year, and it feels great to play on turf and not grass. The Plainfield game, that was our first game playing on dirt and like grass mud. So it was definitely different for us, but the turf field's amazing, and I'm happy that we got it this year.
Okay. Killingly's got the same type of field.
Yep.
Yeah. Now you're going to play on grass tonight.
Yep.
It's not going to be turf.
No turf.
So you're going to be playing at Pearson Park, right?
Yep.
Which is going to not even at the high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. So pretty exciting stuff. Steve, what do you think for these two gentlemen? What kind of things can you say about them? Because you've kind of seen them both, through their careers.
Yeah, no, it's it's been fun watching Cade play all 3 seasons. He's a good kid, good student, great athlete, and obviously watching Soren through the media and whatnot, it's just tremendous athlete and student.
Thank you.
But the future's bright for both of them. Whatever they decide to do, I'm sure they'll be good at it.
Now, getting past football, you wrestle, right,
Yes.
Soren?
Yep.
And didn't you win a state title last year? Or-
Yeah, we won a state title this team. Yeah.
Okay. So it just continues with you.
Yeah.
Do you take a break in the spring or?
I mean, I don't play any sports, but I'm training in the weight room, and I have a couple personal trainers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What about you, Kate?
Play basketball for winter and
Baseball,
in
right?
spring.
And so you don't slow down either.
Nope.
So, any idea or thoughts about school after this, or military, or anything, or?
I'm looking to just go play at a 4-year college, either football or baseball.
Okay, Soren?
Yeah, I'm looking to play football in college.
Any ideas or any thoughts of where you might want to go, or have you guys been recruited, or have you? They're both. You say I kind of figured. I mean, when you're Division I and Division II Player of the Year, for crying out loud, they're coming for you. What about anybody you can mention? I mean, if you can't, don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd really like to go to Holy Cross, and that's
Okay.
my dream school.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Cade,
I'm not really sure yet. Still trying to
No?
figure it out.
Duke, UConn,
Up on the hill in Worcester.
up on the hill in Worcester.
Yeah.
All right. Steve, anything else you want to add this morning, or?
No, just thanks for having us all on. I don't know, it's going to be a good local night for Fitch's in the playoffs as well.
Yep.
So a lot of good stuff for the league.
It's just
going on.
brutal this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So it's got to be a part of it.
So now let's see. We're gonna be streaming the Griswold game against Cromwell tonight on SNSN, and I believe, and actually they're gonna carry our feed on NFHS as well.
Yeah, it's much better when you have people to talk behind
Yeah.
it. If you're just showing the game, it's
Yeah.
you don't really get to.
Yeah.
You miss stuff, and people like yourself will point things out that are good.
It's fun. It's like doing it. Scott Fryer says, "Put a lacrosse stick in these young men's hands." I'm gonna film it kills somebody.
I've often thought if you took your football team and made them lacrosse players, you'd have a pretty good lacrosse team.
Check them. All right. I think that's about it. I don't know. I'm sure there's a million things I could probably ask you guys and stuff. And
Well, good luck in the future. Good
Yeah.
luck what you're going to do after football season, and you got sports afterwards, and then after you graduate.
I went to Griswold and our team sucked. We were horrible. So we didn't, but that was in the QVC way back then.
That was pre-80s? No.
No, it was the 80s.
80s.
80 through 84, man. We just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pre-80s.
I didn't play football. I was a band geek. I loved
I
it.
played for a couple of years, but I was pretty.
Did you?
I was pretty small.
Really?
I was smaller than Kinkade.
Okay.
So I got banged up a lot.
That's another thing. Like, Kate, you are a smaller stature, but you got like no fear at all. I mean, you took a couple of hits this year, and then you just bounce right back up like a rubber ball. So, I mean, do you hear you get comments about that? About
Yeah,
You
I
know.
hear a lot. Like, I don't know. I just go in there and, I got to get back up for my team. I can't go down. And if I do go down, I know there's someone behind me like Cutter or Nick Waters. They'll fill my shoe. But, I mean, I just try my best to get up.
yeah. And Soren, you never mind. You just plowed through everybody. So yeah, I like the way that you mentioned like some of these young kids because, and like how we kind of prefacing with Griswold Youth Football being a feeder program. You got a lot of freshmen that came in this year that, like even Kiki Boyce, for crying out loud, his very first game had to strip the quarterback and then ran it in. One of our commentators went, "My God, Kiki, he's going to score a touchdown." Because just the previous year, we were calling his games, on youth. So, gentlemen, anything else you want to add, to about, because this is about you guys today. No?
I'm all set.
You good?
I'm
All
good.
right. All right. Soren Rief, thank you very much. The ECC Division I Player of the Year. And Kinkade, Rubino, the Division II Player of the Year. So you guys both had wonderful seasons. It's great, to see both you guys, from Griswold, having such wonderful years. And, really you guys could both essentially win state championships. Class L for Killingly, Class S for Griswold. So, like I said, we're carrying the game tonight for Griswold Cromwell. That'll be the game starts at 6:30 on our YouTube channel, and NFHS will be carrying the Killingly game tonight. So it's pretty exciting. All right.
Well,
Thank
good
you,
luck.
Steve, for bringing these gentlemen in.
Yeah, no.
And
glad that you can share them with everybody.
no, good luck, you guys.
Thank you.
Sorry, Cade. Good luck. Soren,
Thanks.
take it easy.
See you, Mike.
Yeah, you too, Steve.
guys.
And I didn't squirt the rubber
See you.
chicken while you were here. So thanks, guys. Have a good day at school. We'll see you guys tonight. All right.
Couple fine young gentlemen.
Yes. Yeah, they're very modest.
Yes, they are.
Very modest young men. So
Yeah, they understand it takes a team to win.
yeah. I kind of knew, like, I mean, when you see them and stuff like that, they're going to be very modest and just reserved and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, these kids on the field, they're maniacs.
Oh yeah, I saw Kinkade play several games here at home, and he doesn't give up.
No.
Even when he stopped, he's still pumping them legs away.
Yeah, and Soren, he's just a big boy. I mean, he's a brick house, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he is.
He's a rock.
You can tell that they take their training seriously.
Yeah. So that's tonight, which is going to be game number 1. Killingly will be playing. Let me get back to it here. I know I mentioned it will be New Canaan. So the Killingly has the 7th seed, and this is one thing I didn't mention, and is Killingly moved up from Class M to Class L this year, and they're still
They're still doing good.
they're still in the state tournament. So that's
Yeah.
something to be said right there for their program. There's another. He's not the only Griswold kid that goes to Killingly High School. There's a couple. One of them being where's his name? I don't want to screw it up. Is and he's a sophomore too. Is Ryan Webster. So he's another Griswold kid that is playing for Killingly, and I apologize if
Oh yeah.
and Wally Oconee.
Hmm.
He's another Griswold kid playing for Killingly.
Well, hopefully, with the new field, we'll start keeping a lot of this talent in town.
You know what? That's a really good point. That's a really good point, because I believe this year, not one student or any 8th grader went to Killingly.
That's a good sign.
That's a really good sign for the town of Griswold.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of kids coming from other towns coming here.
That's correct.
So how many sending towns are there now? 7, 6, 7, 8?
I know my boss is listening, and she could probably answer that and put it on Facebook anytime soon. She probably knows better than I, but yeah, I think it's around 7 or 8.
Yeah. So
And the incoming tuition money, we've already talked about that. It's like 3.1 something million that's coming in.
yeah.
So
And
it's
that's-
paying for over 10% of our budget. for the
Which-
school.
which
So,
is pretty cool, which is
Yeah.
really good. And I don't know if people see that as much. They just, like, for example, when the field was being proposed and when it was being built and stuff,
Yeah.
it was like we're spending, but we're also getting. That's like Norwich, for example. They sundowned every school except for Griswold.
Huh.
So Norwich kids who don't technically have a public high school.
Yeah.
NFA is actually a private school.
Yep.
It's run by a trust, but they don't have a public school. So I guess I don't know if that's the exact reason why some kids have the option to come to Griswold.
But
But
I think having a winning football team and having a new field and the facility is fantastic. And we have room.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll be glad to take them. And the academics, we've got some programs there. I've been going to some of the BOE meetings, not just because my wife's the chair, but because I like to see what's going on. And, a lot of rumors out there about some of the grades, some of the things that happened during COVID, things like that. But a lot of things are turning around, improving, and we've got some AP classes and kids that are doing really good, grade point average wise, and everything
Yeah.
else. Everything's improving, and the superintendent, Mr. McKenna, is doing a fine job along with Glenn,
Yep.
turning things around. And
Well, there's a comment right now on the board. It says, and I believe it just says Facebook user, but I'm going to assume this is as you put your boss, Mary Beth. I'm assuming.
I got a couple bosses. No, we all, Scott.
Yes,
Uh,
we do.
There are 7 tuition towns, projected 3 million, and right now 3.133 million in tuition revenue. So that's a great way to kind of go ahead and segue into our next guest. Good morning, Scott Davis. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Scott, of course, the member of the Board of Finance. And Mary Beth goes, yes, it is his boss. We all know our place, don't we, Wayne? Don't we?
do. Yes, we do. So Scott's not just on the Board of Finance. What else is he?
Well, I don't know. What are you? Chair?
I am chair.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember saying that to him on election night. I said, all right, so you're going to be chair again. And he's very humble. Well, no, I mean, that's not for sure. You know, we're just going to, and then, but I'm thinking you're probably the one that has the most experience, you know, since Mr. Webster is not on the board
I'm
anymore.
actually
So
not. Gail.
no, I meant as chair. Has Gail Brooke Norman ever been chair?
Oh,
I don't
she
think.
has.
Oh, she has. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
She has for a period. She's been vice chair for a period.
All right. So Facebook user says, congrats to Scott for being elected chair.
Thank you.
So let's talk about that. Like as far as the school revenue is concerned, 3.133 million in tuition revenue. How does that impact the town? Because now that money, see, like for example, from what I understand, the school budget is an expenditure budget.
Yep.
Okay, so and all the revenue comes into a line item on the Griswold budget. Is that correct?
It does. So I mean, I like to, I guess, approach it or look at it maybe a little bit differently. Forever, you know, we'd go to the budget hearings, or we'd go to listen at the meetings, and we'd hear the presentation. The superintendent, we're bringing in this much revenue, we're bringing it into the town. You know, happy to do so. And everybody would say, well, how come that money doesn't go back to the school? That money should go right back to the school. And you try to explain, you say, look, the way the budgeting process works is you've got the whole revenue set of line items, and you've got expenditure line items. And
It's a P&L.
Exactly. The town, they submitted expense only budget. The school system, they submitted an expense only budget. But I said, let's step back and let's look at it a little bit differently. And the budget for the schools is we'll say roughly $30 million, and they budgeted $3 million in revenue. So I said, rather than just say, look, you're giving it to the town, I don't think that's factual. I look at it and say, based on the tuition revenue model that they have, that they're really self-sustaining 10% of their own budget.
Mm-hmm.
10%, they fund 10% of their budget through their revenue model, because let's face it, when the monies come in, revenue monies, there's one bucket of money. It gets distributed how it needs to be,
Right.
Be distributed to pay the bills. So maybe it's time to just start looking at it that way and say, look, if we didn't have this revenue, if we didn't
Right.
have this tuition model, we would have nothing to pay for, 10% of that budget. They're effectively paying for 10% of their budget. Now the extra 1.3 whatever million dollars, that's above and beyond what was budgeted for in this year's budget. So those monies, they go into the general fund.
Do you have a comment on that, Mr. Malin?
No, put me between a
No, you don't have.
Hard place.
Hey, no, you know what it is? It's welcome
So-
to co-hosting.
yeah. Okay. So
Well, you brought coffee, so.
yeah, I did buy a coffee to keep
Yes,
me
you
out
did.
of that. But anyway, Scott, we talked a few times,
Mhm.
and I know you know my wife very well. And, so I think it was 100. I think they're going to be over 133,000. What was that number over 3 million? So
130, 3.133 million in
Yes.
tuition revenue.
Yeah, so the 133,000 will go to the general fund.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying about the schools paying for part of the budget, and that's great. They're paying for 10%, and hopefully that'll continue and it'll grow next year.
Right.
And we won't know that forecast till the next school year. But my question to you, since I was running for first selectman, and I learned a lot about the budgeting and about what we're doing with our revenues and things like that. And I've been also involved with the new board. Tina, Todd, are basically working together because I'll just say Tina didn't get a lot of turnover.
Mhm.
So, and Rich and Martin, Tina, Rich, and Martin are starting out again. If the way I was running on is it's going to take money to make money.
Maybe behind the 8 ball.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
behind the 8 ball. So it's going to take money to make money. It's going to take them a few months to get their arms around what's going on
Sure.
and move forward.
Yeah.
Right. So if they have a plan, let's say, I'm not going to speak for them, but if it was me and I had a plan to come to you, this is what we need to make it work, make the Stotts property, all that property over there to work. Would there be a way for the Board of Finance to support that if the plan was feasible to utilize some of that general fund to help get revenue brought into the town? Because the way I look at it, if we invest in the town, we're going to move forward faster.
Yeah, it's funny. In sort of along those same lines, funny, last time I was here, and Paul was sitting in your seat, and we were talking about, the EDC, and he's like, it'd be nice to have some money for marketing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? You don't have any money for marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, it was kind of one of those, sometimes some of those fine details kind of really get caught up in the layers. And, when you're looking in, you're listening to proposals, okay, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this. I mean, there's so many different,
Sure.
drill downs that we don't see those layers, I guess, quite as clearly as maybe we should, or it doesn't get, spoken about. I mean, I'm with you. And I know that there are people that are going to certainly not agree with my statement. They want Griswold to remain a kind of a sleepy little town, no commercial development. I'm a firm believer that you need to find some sort of balance. You need to take a step back. You need to think long and hard on the best approach so that it's kind of a win-win, all the way around. But you can't continue to balance the budget forever on the backs of the residents. There needs to be a commercial offset, and somehow we need to figure out how to attract those entities so that Griswold is desirable and they want to come here. They don't want to go to the town to the north or the town to the south, that they want to land here. And we need to figure out the best way to not only get them in, but we need to figure out the best way to find that balance so that, for the most part, everybody is as happy as they
Right.
can be. Not everybody's going to be
and
happy, but
like you said, the EDC, Paul brought up to you about needing some money. I says, well, part of the responsibility of the commissions, committees, and all the boards, if they need that, they need to come to you guys with a proposal. This is what we'd like to have and why. And so you guys have that information and make that decision, whether it's feasible or not, or if it's going to be best for the town.
yeah, I think my feeling is, and maybe I'll say not literally, but more figuratively, that we kind of sit back and we wait for things to happen. We wait for people to approach us. Somehow we need to figure out how to make people want to come here. Sort of, I'll go back to the school system and their tuition model. It's a business.
Yep.
They've had to market that business, and it's been successful. That's what we need to do on this side.
Yeah. So, I think you're definitely going to see some changes going forward. Some conversations I've had with Tina and Rich and them. It's going to take them a few months, like we talked about before. It's going to take them a few months to get caught up to speed and then come out with their plan and things like that. But,
All right. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Mike.
No, well, we have a couple of questions for Scott. One of them from Christine. It says, pleased to meet you. Can you speak to the needs of our wastewater facility in Jewett City? Or is that a borough thing?
It's really a borough thing.
Okay.
I know that there's a situation. I know that it has the potential of being a kind of a serious situation. Beyond that, I'll be honest with you, it is a borough thing. So we're really not involved in that or swooping that side of things. This is just my conversations with people in the community.
Your other co-host will probably have more information on that.
Which one is
The
that?
one that's in Boston right now.
Oh,
The Burgess.
Oh, the Kathy Burgess.
Kathy Burgess.
Got it.
Burgess. Yeah. Yes, from what I understand, I guess there was a meeting. You played part of that meeting. Was it last week or something like that? That they talked on how to get out of that. They needed some kind of an increase, like 9 to 10% increase or something like that.
Yeah.
Needs quite a bit of work from what I understand.
Yeah. Otherwise, the state's going to step in or something. I'm not going to speak out of turn or anything like that, but it sounded like it's a real challenge to try and get that turned around. And the resolution of that, of course, is get the infrastructure project done and get some use out of it.
Let's see. She goes, oh, I didn't realize. So she wanted to get, that was Christina Russo. Jennifer Gauthier says, hi, Scott. Congratulations on your chairmanship.
Thank you.
You may not be prepared to discuss at this point, but you and I have discussed this briefly in the past. I'm just reading this verbatim. But do you think there is an opportunity for discussions of performing a zero-based budget for Griswold? I think those layers you talk about would be able to be discovered in a process like this.
Right out of the gate, Jen.
She'll mess around.
We have talked about that. She and I have had a couple of conversations on that, and I think that is something that should probably be explored. I don't think that this year would be the year to try to tackle that. Like it or not, I mean, we're in November now, and I know that in the past, in speaking with the superintendent, I know the school is already, has already hit the ground running hard on starting their process. The town seems to lag a little bit more in how quickly that gets done. However, with the new administration coming in now, and as you said, Wayne, they're really trying to focus on getting acclimated to everything and being brought up to speed. This probably would not be the right time to reinvent the wheel. But I think that as we have our budgetary discussions this year, it might be nice to start talking about that along the same lines and maybe kind of get a feel for what sort of support we have on the Board of Finance, all members as a whole, and then put that out there, because it's not going to be a quick and easy undertaking. So that would provide plenty of opportunity and more of a heads up if we were to do that, say, looking at that next year. But certainly, thank you for the reminder on that, because that is something that could be fruitful.
Right. Okay. Jennifer says, I agree with the assessment. Just a thought for helping us to see what we are spending and where. And I don't ask easy questions. All right. So we all know that there is a whole new board coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Already there. First meeting tonight.
Yeah.
6
What
o'clock.
is that transition going to be like from the old into the new?
Which board? We've got kind of a whole new
Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen. How is that going to be relative to the Board of Finance? I mean, it's hard to say because you don't know. You haven't met with them yet as a board. But if you could speculate.
My personal opinion, I think there's going to be far more communication with this board, and I think there's going to be um, more open-mindedness. We're a small town, and I've said, and you and I have had that conversation time and time again, that it's very important that everybody that sits on these various
Yeah.
boards and commissions is able to sit there and actually listen to what everyone else on the board has to say. Party affiliation is great, whoopee, but at the end of the day, you're all charged with the same thing. You're going to have different fundamentals, different philosophies, but neither one is wrong. Neither one is incorrect. Neither one is 100% correct. So you've got to be able to take that opportunity to listen to what the other person says. And I think that, this makeup provides that, that opportunity, which is nice moving forward in relation to how that's going to work with us. We will see. I'd like to say that, you can build upon that. One of the things that I did shortly after being elected as chair is I got in contact with both the superintendent and with the first selectwoman and offered up trying to establish a monthly 30-minute kind of standing meeting between myself as the chair and either Sean or Tina or both, separately, just as a means to open up that line of communication.
Yeah.
Sometimes a nice 30-minute chat. Hey, here's what's on the horizon. Oh, that's great, because that normally doesn't trickle down to us. Or here's what we're thinking on the budget, and I'm able to then bring that back and keep my board apprised of those things at the same time, and able to offer to them some of our opinions on on various things. And I think that helps just kind of navigate the waters a little bit better. I think it helps the process instead of waiting for an agenda to come out and then hearing really 15 seconds of a conversation when maybe there are so many different moving pieces and parts. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 years and see what happens.
And also, we'll make it a lot easier going through the budget season if you're already all on board, right? You know
Agreed.
what's coming, you know what the plans are, and your board knows what's coming, and you've had discussions beforehand. That'll make it a lot easier to get through the budget season.
Speaking of budget season and the subsequent referendum that's going to happen, of course, next year. How do we? How do you think it's going to look? I mean, I saw you flare your eyes real quick. The thing that I've heard over and over and over again is that this is going to be a very different year budget wise, and it could be a little bit of a shell shock. Now, maybe that's a dramatic word, but I mean, how close is it?
Well, you've known me long enough to know that I always err on the side of caution. And not that I'm trying to be negative, but I tilt the scales more in the side of not necessarily doom and gloom, but trying to plan for the worst every year, because sometimes you just don't know until things land. A lot of times
Right.
It happens to be with state funding, and they make the decision at the last possible moment on some of that. So I always try to approach it and say, let's plan for the worst case scenario. If things work out, then fantastic. You're right. I mean, I think that this year is probably going to present us with a few more challenges than it has in previous years. And there are some years where we've had some pretty seemingly insurmountable challenges where talk about state funding, and we weren't sure if we were even going when it was going to hit, and 6 months into the budget cycle, and we still
You talk about
had the
ECS
money.
funding?
No, I'm talking about just the regular.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I forget who was the governor at the time. If it would have been Malloy at the time, but there was that kind of shutdown, and we're looking at going into September, October, and we weren't sure when we were going to get any monies.
Right.
So we do have some challenges this year. long-term debt. This is the first full year, I believe, coming up that, we'll realize the full payments for long-term debt on the senior center project. We have the field project, the
Right.
multi-use field. I believe in January is probably when that's going to end up getting bonded. So that'll end up, getting financed or start to getting financed, I'll say, in the upcoming budget cycle, January, February. For those that don't know, we've had the luxury of having a healthy surplus. So what that enabled us to do with the multi-field project is we were able to actually front load that money and pay for that project ahead of time so that all of the timelines and schedules could meet. And then we're going to go ahead and that's going to be bonded, which was approved at referendum. And then that monies will go back in to replace the monies expended from the general fund. So we'll see that. We have $600,000. I mean, some people will say $850, I think it is, but it's really more of a $600,000. I like to call it a snowball that we've got to deal with coming into the budget, new budget cycle. I say 850 and 600, the two numbers. We allocated an extra $250,000 to capital in this budget cycle, so that things could be, other pieces of equipment could be replaced, additional roads could be paved and whatnot. I focus more on the 600 number because that 250, the way that we applied it, if we need to reduce capital by that 250, we can do so. It's not, that was kind of over and above what they had budgeted for. We did appropriate 600,000 to keep the mill rate where it was.
Last budget cycle.
The
current
cycle
one,
cycle we're now. So that presents a bit of a potentially a bit of a challenge. And the best analogy I can kind of make from on what that means when we say we appropriate it from the general fund is this. You work every day and you make, we'll say you make $1,000
$4.
You make $1,000 a week. We'll just go easy money. So $4,000 a month. Well, this month's expenses were $5,000. You were to take $1,000 out of your savings account in order to be able to pay for your $4,000 worth of bills, knowing that you only made $4,000. Well, if in the following month you don't bring your expenses back down to $4,000 a month, and it's still at $5,000. You've got to make
up for it,
and then you're losing it. You're losing it again. So we've been fortunate in years past that things have worked out and we haven't had to realize that full amount. We came off of that this year, revenues being up. We talked about the school tuition. That always helps when it comes in at $130,000 more. That lessens that $600,000 number, even less on where we've got to bridge that gap. Revenues are up or expenses are down. We had some reimbursement money that came in from the senior center project. So that's going into the general fund. So it kind of helps to bridge that gap. This year, I don't know where we're going to land. That's going to be tough. I know in the latest information I think we got from Eric was we wouldn't see that full burden as it stands right now, based on a few of those variables that we kind of talked about. So we'll know more at the end. But
did you want to caveat off of that, or
So after all that speech and everything like that,
very, very verbose. I'm sorry.
So the bottom line is, I guess anybody that's listening out there. So what do you think the impact on the mill rate will be next year? Just off the hip. I mean, that's a tough question to ask right now, but do you think there's going to be a large hit, small hit? I know there's going to be something because we didn't get anything.
I mean, that's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
It is the elephant in the room, and I call it the snowball no matter what, because I don't like to pay taxes. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like to pay taxes. I like to keep my money in my pocket and not have to give it to anybody else. I don't like tax increases,
Mhm.
not at all. That's just more money that's going to pay the man. That's kind of how I look at it.
And that's got nothing to do with that's another thing too with being Republican or Democrat or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's just being a consumer and being a resident.
Yeah. And I call it a snowball because when you've got to make that up, if it doesn't get balanced based on revenues being up
Right,
or
right.
expenses being down, you've got to increase the mill rate just to make up that difference.
Mhm.
You know, so there's that problem. Where are we going to end up, Wayne? I don't know. I mean, in years past, we've been able to try to provide some guidance to, to the schools, to the town, and say, look, we're looking at, keep everybody at 2% or whatever, just as a guide. And I say that only because it just makes the budget cycle a little easier than starting at kind of the sky's the limit on here's what we need.
But you're basically gonna sit there and look at what you need. You're not gonna go crazy with it. You're just gonna say this is what we got to do to make up
The
for
approach
difference,
is
and this is what we're gonna have to raise it for.
the approach is kind of the same every year. And I said, here's our bucket full of money, and it's only X, and that's all we have to be able to give to everybody that needs it. And the only way to offset that or create more money, we'll say, is to then increase the mill rate in the taxpayers, and they've got to pay more, which I guess is another reason why I think we really need to balance that commercial development to lighten that burden on the parts of the taxpayers.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Mary Beth just commented, who Wayne knows, I guess. But she's the Board of Education chairperson. So she says the bottom line for Griswold is that we need economic development to offset, kind of like what you're saying, with building permits, tax revenue brought in. However, the water and sewer infrastructure will most likely not go out for an RFP until spring.
Yeah, I know that they put one out to bid. They didn't put the other out to bid, or they put both out to bid. The information you actually probably have more information on this from your campaign than we do
Now
from the
he's
Board
going
of
back to
Finance.
me.
You know what?
That's okay.
You got to use your resources.
And Mike and I talked about this before you walked in, and actually before as we were walking up here. The feeling I got from the new board. Been talking with Tina, and I liked your conversation because this whole race thing was working across party lines. Tina and I have talked a lot, and so has Rich and I, and of course Martin and I have. But the problems that they're having, that they're walking into right now, it's going to take some time to get their arms wrapped around it. It's going to take them a couple months. And like you said, yes, the economic development needs to happen. The infrastructure needs to happen. The bids went out. I believe there was one bid for the sewer. They thought they might have been a little short with the money on that, and that's up in the air still. I think Tina's got to look into that more to see where we're at with that. And then there were no bids on the water, and the reason I think for that was a lot of the vendors that they contacted or that returned messages, they're all busy out through the spring. So if anything happens, and if they do get bids, and we got some grants and some money for that, probably won't start till early summer, I would think, as long as we can get a contractor and an acceptable bid, and that'll be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide where they want to go with that. But yeah, there's a lot of puzzle pieces missing right now as far as where that goes. There was also some question on the water tower for the Heritage River project that my wife kind of spilled the beans a couple of weeks ago on your show about we don't have the land in our hands, a lease or anything about where to put the water tower. So she's got to, Tina's got to tackle that. So there's a lot going on that she has to work through. And I don't think anybody was aware of what was going on, although some of us during the race were aware of what was going on. And once Tina has all that figured out, I'm sure she's going to communicate what her plan is going forward. That was One of the things we were both running on is she's going to be really good at communicating with everybody. She's going to be working with you. She really wants to work with everybody and get everybody on the same page. Like you said before, the boards need to work together on this. And across party lines, it doesn't matter. We're a small town, Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter.
And that's one of the things, you know, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Most of this information really was not shared with us, all of the different intricacies and a lot of the stumbling blocks. We'll get the Reader's Digest version of the financial.
Well, it's funny because the way I look at it, the way my brain works, which is completely weird, is I see the three selectmen sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce, just going, now what? It's kind of like what you're saying.
Well, you got Martin, who's been on the planning and zoning, so he.
I'm
has
talking
an
about the
idea
transition
Oh,
from the old into the new, and
Yep.
you know, talking about the infrastructure and the water tower and all these things. It's like, well,
So
what do we
yes,
do?
And there's literally no turnover. Literally, I mean, she's walking into this with, you know, nothing.
you know, and we would get some updates. Here's where we are. We're looking at this low interest loan. We're looking at USDA money. We're looking at this, you know, these other monies here. And you know, I think the last thing that was talked about at the meeting was, well, depending on how all these monies come in, if they come in, then we may not have to utilize the actual bond money because there might be enough. But then there was, at the same time, there was also a concern that there wasn't going to be enough money to do the project. And I guess one thing that you need to understand is we voted for approval for funding for water line and sewer for 201 and 164. However, once that was done, the workings of the project, that falls solely on the Board of Selectmen at that point. And if there have to be modifications to the project, they have that ability under the bond package on how it was written. So if they, you know, there was talks at one point of eliminating some of the work. I think it was on 201 and only focusing on 164. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's not a good idea. I guess I don't have enough information to give a, you know, an opinion without running the risk of sounding stupid. My fear is this was approved back in, I think it might have been 2019, if memory serves me correctly. These are what they call prevailing rate jobs. These are going to be public jobs. So what that means is that every July 1st, the amount of money that it costs just on the labor side increases automatically. July 1st, every year that package increases on what it's going to cost. That's non-negotiable. The state sets the rates on what these people all have to be paid on a prevailing rate job. Cost of goods sold between 2019 and 2023 has skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
So where are we going to be in 2024? Well, if it's after July 1st, your labor rates are going to go up, because if it started in May and went through, say, August, we'll just say, I mean, it's not realistic, but a short period of time, there's going to be an automatic increase in there because July 1st, the labor rates go up. Cost of goods sold is crazy. My fear is on how long this has taken, is taking. And if we say, oh, maybe we don't want to use the bond money. What if we decide, hey, we need to do this on 201 because there could be some commercial development, and maybe it goes, you know, the property goes all the way back deep and it goes to the Pulaski Farm or, you know, whatever, and heads out that way, and they need to access it this way. We don't do 201. We had the opportunity to do it at X amount of millions of dollars. 4 years or 5 years from now, how much more is that going to cost?
Then when do we stop kicking the can and just swallow it and do it? I mean,
I believe that's what they have to make that decision. They're going to have to make that decision in the next couple months. Whether they're going to just let 201 go, focus on 164.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest bang for the buck right now with the cost of labor? The cost of materials skyrocketed too the last 4 years through COVID.
Yeah.
It just, you know, and as you know, the supply chain is kind of broken in this country, so it's tough to get materials.
It's getting better.
So it's getting better, but it's not like it was. And it was the same thing with the field, right? So the field, the contractor gave the school this much time, actually extended it out a little bit so that you get the contract signed, the first selectman, and get that moved along. Because once they went past a certain date, the material price was going to jump up and it was going to cost us more money. So they had to get that moved along. And they eventually got that done so it wouldn't cost us anymore. This is the same thing here that Scott's talking about. He's talking about the labor portion, but the materials, they don't have a set date. That's just going to happen
Right.
on its own. So that's just the natural things, the way things go. And so, yes, they know the board has a lot of decisions to make. She's focused on 164, I know for a fact, but she's she's got to get up to speed on a lot of stuff and start making some decisions. And what time of year is it?
Christmas.
Holidays. So it's very hard to try and get a lot of people to support decision making like that from the state and everywhere else.
When you're inundated with out of office replies at this point,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
get that for the next 2 months. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They and I think we really are at this point now, kind of between a rock and a hard place on this.
Yeah.
On this whole thing.
So yeah, it's going to take the new board a couple months to get their arms around everything and make decisions, and I'm sure they will communicate with you, your board, and all the other boards what we need to do to go forward.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, you have to give Tina Falk, our new first select person. I don't know, what do we call it? I mean,
I think
they're
you can go
both, the
any-
last two have been women, so
I think you can go any of the three, but that's
Yeah.
just me. I'm probably wrong.
Just call her Tina.
Tina, yeah. There's I just like anybody coming into a new job, you've got to give them a ramp up time.
Mhm.
I mean, we understand that there's it's a lot of it's a shit show right now, but you still have to give these people the time to sink their teeth, and kind of wallow through the muck a little bit.
Well, and we don't know how the transition was. Was there a transition?
I don't think.
How was it?
Look at Wayne.
I mean, I get the feeling that, just from sitting at my own meetings, that
How many
you didn't know what was really,
Yeah, how
you
many
didn't know
new
what was
board
going
members
on.
do you have, Scott, right now? Considering talking about transition, you've got quite a few, right?
1, 2, 3.
Rob Hamill.
3 new members. Rob Hamill, Matt Pico, and Mark DePonte.
So he's going through a transition himself, but yeah, there was no transition, no turnover. That was.
It was kind of like walking out. Good luck.
I don't even know if she got good luck.
Got on a plane. And
I'm just trying to be nice.
hey, one of the things I said, is that once this is over, we'll probably never hear from you again. So why are you on social media?
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
we haven't, have we?
No.
Nope.
So yeah, it's going to take a couple months, and I know Tina's viewpoint is, and she's got an advantage, really. That
You mean because of her
her husband-
experience?
her
Well,
husband, Todd,
yeah, that's true.
was a selectman. He has a lot of information, and so she's got that.
Not just the selectman; he was first selected.
He has first selectman as selectman, so he's got that information and a little bit of history of what's been happening the last couple of years. So if she didn't have that, yeah, I don't know. You got Martin, who's been on planning and zoning, so he's familiar with the Heritage River project, which will help. He's also familiar with some of the infrastructure stuff that's going on, I'm sure. And then she's also got Rich on there, who's on a bunch of various boards also. And so they got the experience. She's got some help. She's actually kept me involved. I'm going to help her best I can. So she's not going to be out there alone. And I'm sure Scott's going to help her out and everybody else. So because we're all in this together, right? It's all about
Absolutely,
Griswold.
yeah, absolutely.
It's all about getting Griswold better. And I agree with Scott. We have to move forward. I know everybody wants us to be a quiet little town, but living in a quiet little town with pay going up and materials going up and everything else, and everybody wants the roads fixed. And, and then we got the sewage problem. And even though it's in the borough, it's still in the town, right? It's still got to get fixed. It's still going to be a burden. So we all have to work together to get through it.
Yeah, that is true. And maybe we have to bite the bullet a little bit.
Yeah,
I was hoping you'd say something, but
I have kind of a saying.
sorry.
I have a saying, and it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but we get in the budget season, and I always hear 0% increase, 0% increase, and just say, look, that I want a 0% increase, but that's not realistic. The town of Griswold doesn't have the ability to stop the world while the rest of the world and the global economy continues to rotate, and that's the problem. We can slow things down. We can even stop it. But when you've got to play catch up, that's going to do you in. And we've got to figure out a way to try to balance that so it's less of a bite.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, do we have any history on when we've done 0% pay increases for several years in a row, and then it kind of hit us hard for a couple of years? I know we just had a 0%, right? Did we just have a 0% this last year?
We did, yeah.
So historically, I don't know, you know, it might be a tough question to answer right now, Scott, but you know, I don't know if we've done it several years in a row, and then all of a sudden, you know, we had to take a hit.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall, and I don't think it. I think that there were a couple of years where there were some zeros, and I'm not sure if there were zeros across the board. I know there were zeros on the school side for a number of years. I'm trying to remember if that was when I first came on or just before I came on the board. Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah, but historically, I think if you have a 0% one year, the next year you're going to see something just because of the costs of everything. And even in the town hall, I mean, I just got familiar with some of the pay in the town hall and some of the pay, talking to the guys at the town garage and things like that. Is you know, Tina, she had to resign from the senior center, right, as director, and they posted the job, and I forget how much the salary is, but it's not, you know, extremely high, so it might be difficult to get somebody to fill that. So as far as town services and salaries and things like that, we're kind of behind the 8 ball there. So really, how are we going to rectify that? How are we going to keep getting 65-year-old guys like me running for first selectman because I got a pension and I can afford to do that job on that salary? I mean, we got to bring revenue into the town, and it all falls back to what? Getting commercial business in here, getting, you know, economic development, so we can get people to, you know, get in here, get the best people to be doing these jobs in the future, and younger people. So,
well, we continuously had that struggle, old money against new money, you know, and like we get all that, you get property over there on 164. You get some people that just don't want to sell it, and then you said, you know, even to your wife's point, we don't even have a spot for the water tower yet. Shouldn't we get that first before we move on?
Let me tell you, that's eye-opening because I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
and you would think
that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's one of those things that needs to be communicated to the Board of Finance, you would think.
Yes, there was a lot of eye-opening things that I was finding out about while I was running, and it actually fueled my fires even more. Even with some of the lack of experience that I had and all like that, you know, we got to do. We needed changes. Tina's in, and the new board's in, and I think you're going to see a lot of changes. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take them a few months to come up with a plan, present it to all the boards, present it to the public, and then move forward from there. And it's going to take everybody, every volunteer, all the people that are involved in these boards and stuff like that to help move it along. And that's why I was talking to Scott about, you know, we got some people, I think they got, you know, like a Willy Wonka movie, the golden ticket there with the land sitting there.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen.
You know, and it doesn't happen. And I don't know if we're going to have to offset that to get them to sell it so we can get business in here, you know, through the general fund or what. I don't know what kind of plan we can come up with or what state funding's out there to help us get these people off their butts and let that land go so we can, you know, grow with that, get the revenue in.
We need that water tower, and we need the infrastructure on 164.
That's correct. Before we can put a building out there, we need a water tower.
I just think that's going to be the domino. That's going to, if that gets tipped, then I think you're going to start to see more and more serious people that want to come in.
And I'll just say this, and maybe this is a really stupid statement that doesn't make any sense. I've said those before, so this won't be the first time, and this is very radical. But maybe there are certain times when you need to consider eminent domain.
We talked about that. We talked about that.
Don't use the E word.
Matter of fact,
Whoa.
matter of fact, I even talked about it at home, and I got the evil eye.
Do not
There's a
use
lot
the
of
E word.
and nobody likes to talk about that, and I'm not a big fan of it. If you own the
It
land,
didn't work out for New London, did
And
it?
neither
You
am
know?
I. And neither am I. But
but eventually, sometimes you have to carry a big stick to get things moving along, and you're going to make some enemies. But first you got to work with the people and do the best you can, right? And eventually you got to sit there and bring the big stick out
I'm
and
so
say, hey.
surprised that came up.
But
Eminent domain.
you know what?
I probably got a lot of people throwing their shoes at the TVs right now. Or
I'm
whatever
not
they're
saying
doing.
It's their TV.
I'm not saying it's the right choice,
Yeah.
but certainly
Yeah.
there is.
I mean, if the
So many
town's
times we
struggling,
sit. So many times we sit and we just kind of shrug our shoulders.
Yeah.
We put our hands in the air and
Right,
say, "I don't know."
you're not the first person that's brought that up. I'm not going to name you.
We talked about it. We talked
We
about
talked
it here.
about it. Paul's talked about it. I mean, several people in the town hall talked about it, and it's. But what we have to do, we need to do what we can to prevent from going that route the best we can.
Sometimes it's a conversation
And
starter.
it's going to be something.
Yeah.
This guy's going to have to sell to the Board of Finance if the Board of Selectmen come up with a plan on how So let's say they want to sell stocks for.
Well, they had a buyer at $2 million. They wanted they had a buyer at $2 million, and they said, "No, we're gonna go to $3 million."
Yeah. So you get the buyer to go, okay, $2.5 million. He says, nope, we still want 3, or he goes to 2.75 million.
It's an investor out of New Jersey, from what I understand.
So okay, so
Cash.
do we go to the Board of Finance and say, hey, can we make up the $250,000? So we can get that land from that person, and then we can start building, because we gotta look at, so what's that revenue going to come from with permits and future revenue if that business goes on? I think that's going to be a win-win for the town eventually if we spend the $250,000
Right.
to offset that. That's what I think is going to happen. I really don't want to go down that
Sure.
other avenue, but
The
I
E
think,
word.
yeah, the ED,
The E word.
not the other ED, but
ED. Well, Wayne, that's a completely different subject.
But anyway, yes, eminent domain.
We haven't touched that subject here.
That's almost like a 4-letter word, but here comes the chicken. I can see it now. Here comes the chicken.
All right.
All
Scott,
right.
thank you so much for coming on in. It's
You're
always
welcome.
a pleasure to have you in here, because you speak in terms that I understand. And I don't understand a lot of the mumbo jumbo, but you speak in layman's terms, which I think is very valuable for a lot of people that listen in. And it's like, I think a lot of times people don't go to meetings because they don't think they're going to understand what's being said, with the jargon and, that, board member. I know I was like that.
Yeah,
I was
you go
like
to
that.
a public forum, you can ask questions. Can you clarify that?
I know, but you
Things
get
like
you,
that,
you
yeah.
get it's almost like it's you're
I
fearful because you don't want to look like an idiot.
I'll tell you what,
You know,
I
and-
saw a lot of people in the last 4 or 5 months starting to show up at meetings.
Yeah.
A lot more. And even the board members were sitting there saying, geez, where all these people come from,
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, because what I was doing, I wanted to get involved and get educated what was going on in the town. But I think this whole thing with the race, the election, and what was going on not being said, nothing was being put out, so people want to find out. So they listen to your show, or they go to the meetings, or they watch the streaming from home, or even read the minutes. If you just read the minutes, if you read the minutes from the last EDC meeting, if that doesn't make your temperature go up a couple degrees, because wow, that's when they talked about the water tower. Paul's probably brought that up at the next EDC meeting, the water tower and where we're standing with the projects and all like that. And if that doesn't get you to start asking some questions, then people need to start paying attention to what's going on in their own town if they're concerned about taxes. Where we're going.
Right. Well, we're gonna find out soon.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna find out soon. It's gonna be a totally
So the
new
new board,
situation.
new
It's a
board
whole
meeting
new
tonight.
world.
I know there's a lot going on tonight. You got the playoffs with Griswold tonight that you're going to stream. I'm going to be going to the board of select meeting tonight because the new board's there.
Just for our listeners, what
Yeah.
time is that? Where is that going to be at?
That's 6 o'clock at the town hall.
There you go.
Got it.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna. Are they streaming it? That's
I-
another thing
I can tell
because
you that at our last meeting, we tried to stream it. So instructions were left. Well, 99.9% of the instructions were left. It was that 1% that I think kind of did us in. We were able to get the computer. We got the camera. I met Eric early. Did a lot of legwork earlier in the day for the Zoom account and all of this and all that. Sent up the meeting invite and getting everything all set. And then I met him there early. I said, let's try to tackle this and get it up. And we got it up, and we're missing one of the accounts. I think, I don't know. It's got to get. It starts with Zoom, and then from there it gets linked to a Facebook account, and then from there you can YouTube it, but you got to Facebook it before you YouTube it or something. I don't know the instructions on how to get the links. It was not there. There was a big black hole there, and the only thing we could do is get it to connect to Zoom, but we had no way to get that out to everybody at that point, because normally they either go to the town website or the YouTube.
I kind of do that at like every day, so maybe they would call me, but I don't know.
Well, hopefully we can figure that out tonight. Hopefully, maybe Todd has the account number.
I don't know if I would watch it because public forum is not going to be any more fun. Public forum was one of the reasons why I would watch the Board of Selectmen meetings, because there were some fireworks going on there, and it was like, it was almost like a cage match.
Yeah, there was. I'm going to go because I want to see what's going on and keep my head in the game. And Tina's helping me with that. So we're going to help her with that. This whole mess. All of us need to help her. Yeah.
I think she'll get it figured out. She's a very intelligent lady.
Yep.
And I think that, I really truly believe and that her heart and her mind is in the mindset of the town. I mean, just look at history. Look at history, with her in the senior center. And I mean, it took her 12 years to build that. But she did it.
I think it was longer than that, but yeah.
But it was her idea, and she just kept going and going and going
for a
until she
while.
got it.
Yeah. Well, not only that, she's like this Thanksgiving, she's doing the Thanksgiving dinners, and had volunteers out there packaging them up, cooking it, packaging it up. We came up with 200 dinners, and we were listening to your streaming, by the way, the football game.
Oh.
And the energy picked up in the second half. First half, it was, we're like, oh my God, what's happening? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they start taking off, and we start working harder. But it was, it was. We also got a couple things going on. I think she's got a breakfast for the emergency fuel fund coming up in a couple weeks. She continues to do that. And a lot of people showed up. I mean, we had probably 15 to 20 volunteers there doing all that. So it was really interesting. It was fun. So,
well, hopefully a new day is dawning. That's all we can hope for. So, Scott, once again, thank you very much for coming on in. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and congratulations on becoming chair of the Board of Finance again. I think probably the best choice.
Thank you
to have you in there. And Wayne, what do you think, man? I mean,
I'll be the fourth stringer. You got all the Wazliks, and I don't mind for
Mike and the Malin.
Yeah. Not another M&M thing.
A Malin and a Mike. I don't know.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
All right.
It's fun. It's interesting. I'm sure I can give you some information as things move along.
Absolutely.
Because
we want you for your personality now.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I don't. My wife says I don't have one, but that's okay.
Well, obviously you do. So, all right. Tonight's the football game. So we get the Board of Selectmen meeting at 6. And the game is at 6:30, live from Cromwell. It's game one. It's Griswold against Cromwell. Well, it's actually Griswold Wheeler versus Cromwell Portland. And it's going to be a close game because Griswold's the 5 seed and Portland is the 4 seed. So it's going to be a tight contest. So, all right. We'll see you guys later on tonight. It'll be myself, Scott Fryer, and Cam on the cam. Have a good day, everyone.
No Griswold later?
Not today.
Not today, because
No.
the game.
It'll be Griswold really a lot later.
Yes.
See you later.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'll hit the selectmen's meeting and then go back and I was gonna go.